Solitude is dangerous. It's very addictive. It becomes a habit after you realize how calm and peaceful it is. It's like you don't want to deal with people anymore because they drain your energy. What do you think about this quote by Jim Carrey? Accurate. When you distance yourself from the drama, cacophony, and bigoted people around you, the world is quieter. But people skills do need to be maintained, and friends are a good thing to have. It's a balance. Well, when it comes to relationships, it's easy to get into this and say yes. I have been single for a long time, and honestly, as much as I want a relationship, at least with the women who are talking to me, the prospect of having to call someone every day or to be expected to fit my life into their schedule is not something I look forward to. It's more the loss of independence than a desire for solitude emo. From a man who once lived in a vehicle, tiny apartments, etc. Growing up, I think he deserves his quiet time. For me, once you get a hang of it, you'll realize that you won't need anyone else to be happy. You won't have the urge to look for someone to complete you. And you will not need to prove yourself to anyone. You always go your own way. It makes you feel you're one with yourself and you're complete. Sometimes it's better to be alone but happy than to be associating with people you toxically drain you of your energy and defeat you in small ways that really matter. I agree. I don't people anymore. Very true. Hence why I have no friends, a shitty flat and no tech about from an old mobile from 2010. Sometimes this is good. It's one of the most brilliant things I've read this year. It's so true. After going on holiday and getting stuck on a jungle walk, I hate people cause they drain my energy more than running in any game with a stamina bar. Well, Jim Carrey appears to be fucking insane these days, so he may be onto something. That's my life right there. Solitude is fantastic. Yes, it's probably not good to be a complete loner. When I was out of work for several months a few years ago, I made a conscious effort to at least leave the house 2 or 3 times a week. Because otherwise, I'd probably have become a hermit, but I wouldn't say it's dangerous. I used to be extremely social. The older I've gotten, the less enjoyment I get out of seeking friendships. I bought a bigger house and used to throw weekly parties. Now I could care less. It's sad, but honestly I love being alone with just my kids and husband. I hate people's drama. I don't need support or advice or need to vent my problems anymore. I think it's part of getting older. I think there is definitely some truth in it. I would argue that it is about finding a balance between solitude and being social. I suppose the hard part is find that sweet spot, which varies from person to person. I do believe that most of us require some degree of attention from the others, especially when we are younger. It might be true for him. Late stage Jim Carrey is kinda insufferable tbh. That's just being an introvert, and I don't see the problem with it. I love to go hiking or biking solo for a day. I think one of the great shames of modern society is that it teaches women to be afraid of going out into nature by themselves, because doing so is good for the soul. That said, I also love to come home at the end of the day to my husband. The trick is finding someone who does not drain your energy, but instead replenishes it. People just don't like change. Solitude is addictive after you've acclimated to solitude. Company is addictive after you've acclimated to companionship. Jim Carrey had a couple of short celebrity marriages and is kind of a narcissist. So sure, maybe to him other people are a drag because his relationships were mired in Hollywood egoism. Go ask a guy who lost his wife after 40 years of marriage if it's a big weight off his shoulders, and you might get a different answer. Accurate. But there can be such a thing as too much solitude. Myself as an example. I'm a recluse. I have very few friends who I don't see often. I don't interact with my peers at college. Nor do I have work friends I talk to outside of work. And I'm estranged from my family. For all intents and purposes, I'm alone all the time despite almost always being around people. Which is, really, nothing new. I felt alone with my family too. We didn't exactly get along well, and excluding myself was how I avoided problems. And, yeah, no, I'm tired of solitude. I've had just about enough. And, yet, I can't seem to shake the habit as well as I had hoped. So I suppose it is rather addictive. Jim Carrey is kind of an asshole. I love him as an actor, but he's really insufferable in interviews. He's a strange guy that has trouble connecting with people. His fame didn't help. This quote particularly bothers me. People drain his energy because he's an asshole who can't have a normal conversation. Show me a single video where Jim ever had a nice two-way conversation that wasn't totally about him. Has he ever taken an interest in another human being? I know we don't have cameras on him 24/7 like Truman Show. But still, Tom Hanks comes off more likable at his worst than Jim Carrey at his best. Solitude can be your best ally. Sometimes people just wish to be in the company of things other than fellow humans. They want to be left alone and to enjoy the privacy of their own thoughts. Accurate AF. I hardly ever go out anymore and I love it. People aren't worth the effort anymore. Eremites live alone their entire lives. I don't think it's dangerous per se. It depends entirely on the reasons and the person. This is called the introvert experience. My daughter, who'd rather be in her room all day, says that it's too much energy to hang with friends. I would change the first sentence to potentially dangerous, otherwise, yep. I agree. As someone with Asperger's, I think solitude is never a bad thing. Just because you're alone doesn't mean you're lonely. It's reasonably accurate. I told some online mates about my business plan and their reaction sorta took the wind from my sails a bit. I plan on not telling them anything in the future. After all, what's the point when they just ruin the great things that happen to you? It's true. Solitude is both lonesome and addictive. After shutting myself off from friends and family for about 3 years, it almost seemed foreign and almost bizarre to interact with people after so long. I can see where he's coming from, but if I fully agree. Solitude is nice, but sometime you have to go back to Whiterun. I thought Jim Carrey would make a fantastic Freddy Krueger in a Nightmare reboot. But then I realized that him playing a character that psychologically tortures young women and men to death might be a little uncomfortable. 100% accurate. I've always been pretty introverted. And if I go a few days without leaving the house, I definitely don't feel like changing that pattern. Even if it's something fun, like a concert or party with my best friends, you definitely don't feel like talking to people. Truer words have never been spoke. Depends on whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. As an introvert, I agree 100%. An extrovert would probably feel the opposite. Not all the time for me. Sometimes I refresh by talking to my friends about shared circumstances. Having spent as much time around Jenny McCarthy as he did, I can understand where he's coming from this year. It's true. It's true, I'm living it. Very relatable, but wouldn't expect it from Jim Carrey. I'm the exact opposite. He's got dang right. Which is why I get obliterated on Saturdays as I overcompensate for a week of having seen nobody. It's pretty profound. Now that I think on it more, it really embodies how I structure my own life. Accurate and relatable. That's my life. Agree to a point. People do tend to drain me. I think it comes down to people suck. They are the SUCC. And there's nothing wrong with being able to enjoy life by yourself. It's exhausting when people feel like they need to be in a relationship 24/7. Some people don't know how to just exist with themselves and live for themselves and somehow view it is inherently lonely. Tell me why I can't be friends with loneliness. Maybe it's different if you're an extrovert, but I can't imagine people being anything but draining. I think it's layered. As someone who quite enjoys solitude, but also social solitude, i.e. chilling with loved ones in silence, relative silence, I don't consider it dangerous. But maybe I'd change my mind if I wasn't living with a partner. I could also see myself being the type to isolate myself if solitude got too comfy while single. But that's the difference. Solitude is necessary for humans. Isolation is dangerous. I've seen this quote attributed to Jim Carrey, Tom Hardy, and, upon Googling it, hedonist poet. I agree with it. Absolutely accurate. I did love having a boyfriend. He sadly passed away, and do love my friends. But I'm very happy with my own company. I'd always take solitude over being around random people. Agree. I got so addictive to solitude that I started to isolate myself from society, and that's dangerous. I've worked on it, and now I have a lot of friends and an active social life, but I still need my space and time alone. You need to find balance. Sounds like an introverted extrovert. I get it. Been trying to get out of it the last couple weeks. I have school and an internship and responsibilities, but I'm finding it harder to get out of bed and check my phone. I sometimes forget to answer it if it rings. I'm really trying not to fall into that hole. But Jim is absolutely right. Solitude isn't dangerous. It's delicious. Can confirm. Have lived alone for years. Will never change. I'm not doing your homework for you. Up. Lol, yeah, I like myself better than everyone else. Why I would prefer to be around other people instead of myself. People are great, but I really don't like being near them. I swear this sounds like something House would say. I wouldn't say solitude is addicting, but comfort is. This is the entire idea behind the comfort zone. Most people would rather stay in it than ever venture out. If their comfort zone is in solitude, this leads to people who would rather be alone. Not something bad in theory, but never venturing outside the comfort zone can lead to a limited lifestyle. I think that's far too profound to actually be Jim this year.